Julius Caesar, the man who conquered nations, crowned himself a god, slept with queens and senators' wives, and was stabbed 23 times by his closest friends. But here's the wild part. Julius Caesar saw it coming and still walked right into it. This isn't a dusty history class story about Rome. This is the real-life thriller of Julius Caesar, the soldier-turned-superstar who rewrote time itself, seduced queens, and nearly turned a democracy into a one-man show. Rumour in ancient Rome said Julius Caesar didn't stop at Cleopatra. He also charmed the wives of powerful senators and rivals, which made political meetings awkward and dangerous. By the end of this story, you'll understand how Julius Caesar rose from a broke young noble to ruler of the greatest empire on earth, and why the same ambition that built his power destroyed him. Stay until the end. The twist behind Julius Caesar's death will change how you think about power forever. Julius Caesar was born in 100 BC into the Julii family, a noble bloodline with an empty wallet. He grew up in a republic ripping itself apart. Corruption, street violence, and generals buying loyalty with gold. At 16, Julius Caesar's father died, and his uncle-in-law Gaius Marius was locked in a power struggle with another warlord, Lucius Cornelius Sulla. When Sulla won, he demanded that Julius Caesar divorce his wife Cornelia because her father had supported the losing side. Julius Caesar refused, a teenage act of defiance that nearly cost him his life. Sulla seized Julius Caesar's property and marked him for execution. For months, Julius Caesar hid in forests and swamps, disguised as a commoner, moving from one friend's house to another until a bribe convinced officials to let him go. Sulla finally relented, muttering, "There are many Mariuses in this Caesar." Translation: this kid is going to be trouble. With no money or protection, Julius Caesar joined the army, partly to survive, partly because he understood that real power came from soldiers, not speeches. He fought bravely in Asia Minor, once saving a comrade's life in battle and earning Rome's highest military honor. Julius Caesar learned early that courage on the battlefield could open doors faster than politics in the forum. In 75 BC, while sailing to Rhodes to study public speaking, Julius Caesar was kidnapped by pirates. They demanded 20 talents of silver, a fortune, but Julius Caesar laughed and said, "Idiots, I'm worth 50. For 38 days, the pirates held Julius Caesar captive. Instead of begging for mercy, he treated them like servants. Every day, Julius Caesar gave speeches, read poetry, and scolded the pirates for not appreciating great literature. He promised, half smiling, "When I'm free, I'll hunt you down, capture you, and crucify you." They laughed. They thought Julius Caesar was joking. He wasn't. After friends raised the ransom, Julius Caesar gathered ships, hunted the pirates, captured them all, and kept his word. He ordered them crucified. But in what he called an act of mercy, Julius Caesar had them strangled before the crucifixion. That was the essence of Julius Caesar: charismatic, cultured, and terrifyingly relentless. Was Julius Caesar right by doing so? Please let us know your thoughts in the comments. When Julius Caesar returned to Rome, he found politics dirtier than any battlefield. He was ambitious, charming, and completely broke. He borrowed enormous sums from Marcus Licinius Crassus, the richest man in Rome, promising influence in return. Julius Caesar used that money to host lavish games and feasts for the public, buying popularity with bread and entertainment. By 60 BC, his charisma paid off. He struck a secret deal with Crassus, the money, and Pompey the Great, the military superstar. Together they became the First Triumvirate, 3 men who quietly ruled Rome. With their backing, Julius Caesar was elected consul, the highest public office in the Republic. So what exactly was a consul? A consul was like a cross between a president and a prime minister. Two consuls shared executive power for 1 year, commanded armies, and could veto each other's decisions. The idea was to prevent anyone from becoming a dictator. Julius Caesar treated the role like a launch pad. As consul, Julius Caesar pushed through land reforms for veterans, laws for his allies, and tax breaks for Crassus. When senators resisted, Julius Caesar filled the forum with supporters to encourage them to vote correctly. Roman politics had never seen such theatre. But Julius Caesar didn't want to be remembered as a politician. He wanted to be remembered as a legend. In 58 BC, Julius Caesar took command of 4 Roman legions, about 20,000 men, and headed north into Gaul, the wild frontier that is now France and Belgium. Gaul wasn't one country but dozens of tribes, fierce warriors who had once invaded Italy itself. Julius Caesar saw in them the perfect enemy, dangerous enough to make him a hero, divided enough to conquer. For 8 years he fought non-stop. Julius Caesar built bridges across rivers in 10 days, carved roads through forests, and attacked hill forts no Roman had dared approach. He also wrote his own press releases. His book Commentaries on the Gallic War, written in the third person, Caesar did this, Caesar did that, turned every battle into a best-selling epic. It was propaganda disguised as history, and Rome loved it. 2 battles made Julius Caesar a legend. Julius Caesar's legions were still setting up camp when the Nervi tribe, 60,000 warriors, charged from the woods. The surprise was so complete that Roman soldiers were digging trenches when the first spears hit. Julius Caesar grabbed a shield, ran to the front line, and personally reformed his units. Outnumbered almost 2 to 1, Julius Caesar turned panic into discipline, bringing up reserves at the exact moment the enemy thought victory was theirs. When it ended, nearly the entire Nervi tribe was wiped out. About 60,000 dead, 500 survivors. Rome had its hero, Vercingetorix, a Gallic leader with 80,000 men, holed up inside the fortress of Alesia. Julius Caesar surrounded it with a 19-kilometer inner wall to starve the defenders, then built a 21-kilometer outer wall to keep out rescue forces. When 250,000 Gauls attacked from outside while the trapped army charged from inside, Julius Caesar galloped along his lines, directing every move. After 2 days of slaughter, Vercingetorix surrendered. 80,000 Gauls were killed or sold into slavery. About 12,000 Romans died. Modern militaries still study Alesia for its engineering genius. By the end of the Gallic Wars, Julius Caesar controlled more land than any Roman before him, territory larger than modern France. He returned rich, adored by his soldiers, and feared by politicians. The Senate grew nervous. Crassus was dead, Pompey was jealous, and Julius Caesar was now the most famous man in Rome. They ordered Julius Caesar to disband his army and return home as a private citizen, which meant certain prosecution. In 49 BC, Julius Caesar led his 13th legion south until he reached a shallow river on Italy's northern border, the Rubicon. Roman law forbade any general from bringing troops across it. Doing so was treason. Julius Caesar stood on the bank, looked at his men and said, "Alea iacta est." The die is cast, then he rode across. That single step destroyed 5 centuries of Roman law. The phrase "crossing the Rubicon" still means passing a point of no return. When Julius Caesar marched into Rome, the city panicked. Pompey and most senators fled east with the treasury. Without a battle, Julius Caesar had captured the capital and proven something new: an empire that wide could not defend itself without one strong ruler. Julius Caesar didn't stop. He pursued Pompey across Italy, Spain, and Greece. At Pharsalus in 48 BC, Pompey had 45,000 infantry and 7,000 cavalry. Julius Caesar had barely 30,000. He arranged his lines with a secret fourth row of veterans hidden behind his cavalry. When Pompey's horsemen charged, Julius Caesar's hidden line attacked with spears, striking upward into faces. A move so shocking it shattered Pompey's flank. 15,000 Senate troops died. Julius Caesar lost a few hundred. It was brains over numbers. Pompey fled to Egypt expecting safety from the young pharaoh Ptolemy XIII. When Julius Caesar arrived, Ptolemy presented Pompey's severed head as a gift. Julius Caesar turned away in disgust. Even in victory, he respected former friends. Egypt was a world of gold, temples, and family feuds. Cleopatra VII, 21 years old, had been driven out of Alexandria by her brother-husband Ptolemy XIII. She smuggled herself into the royal palace, wrapped in a carpet, and rolled out at Julius Caesar's feet. He was 52, exhausted from war, and instantly captivated. She was brilliant, multilingual, politically ruthless, and she needed his army. Julius Caesar decided to settle Egypt's civil war himself. His legions fought in the Battle of the Nile, burning Ptolemy's fleet and storming the palace. Ptolemy drowned in the chaos. Cleopatra was restored as queen. The two sailed the Nile together for months, visiting temples and talking strategy. Their alliance and romance produced a son Caesarion, Little Caesar. When Julius Caesar brought Cleopatra and Caesarion to Rome, the Senate was horrified. The sight of a foreign queen in golden robes walking beside their dictator was too much. Rumors spread that Julius Caesar planned to move the capital to Alexandria and start a dynasty of god-kings. Whether true or not, it sealed his fate. By 46 BC, Julius Caesar was unstoppable. He returned to Rome in triumph, hailed as Dictator for life, a title meant to be temporary, now twisted into permanence. In just 4 years, Julius Caesar rebuilt the Republic into something entirely new. He restructured debt, built public works, created jobs for thousands, and expanded citizenship across the provinces. He gave land to veterans and free grain to the poor. He even rewrote time itself, literally. The old Roman calendar was a mess, misaligned with the seasons by nearly 3 months. Julius Caesar fixed it, creating the Julian calendar, with 365 days and a leap year every 4. It was so accurate that we still use its modernized version today. And to mark his reform, Julius Caesar named the month of July after himself. But behind the reforms lay the same ambition that had driven Julius Caesar his whole life. He wore purple robes reserved for kings, sat on a golden throne in the Senate, and had his face stamped on coins, something previously done only for gods. When Mark Antony offered him a crown 3 times during a public ceremony, Julius Caesar refused each time, but he refused slowly, as if he wanted everyone to see him hesitate. The crowd cheered, the Senate panicked. To the people, Julius Caesar was a savior. To the senators, he looked like a man rehearsing for monarchy. Even his health became a topic of gossip. Julius Caesar had fainting spells and sudden collapses, likely epilepsy or mini-strokes from exhaustion. But he worked endlessly, dictating letters on horseback and having 3 secretaries writing at once. His stamina was legendary, his vanity obvious, and his trust fatally misplaced. Many of the men Julius Caesar had forgiven, senators who once fought against him, were secretly plotting his death. March 15th, 44 BC, the Ides of March. A soothsayer had already warned Julius Caesar, beware the Ides of March. That morning, his wife Calpurnia begged him not to go to the Senate. She dreamed of his murder and seen omens in the night sky. Julius Caesar laughed. "What's to be feared can't be avoided," he said. He believed he was untouchable. He entered the theatre of Pompey, the temporary home of the Senate. Ironically, it was a building decorated with statues of Pompey. The rival Julius Caesar had defeated in battle. As Julius Caesar took his seat, senators surrounded him. They smiled, pretending to hand him a petition. Then one man grabbed his toga, another struck, blades flashed. Julius Caesar tried to fight back, wounding at least one attacker with his stylus, a metal writing pen, but then he saw Brutus, his close friend and protégé, among the assassins. He stopped resisting and whispered, "Et tu, Brute? You too, Brutus." Then Julius Caesar fell at the base of Pompey's statue, his blood pooling beneath the feet of the man whose ghost still haunted Rome. He was stabbed 23 times, only one wound to his chest was truly fatal. The rest were symbols. The Senate thought they had saved the Republic. In truth, they had just buried it. When news spread, Rome froze. The assassins ran through the streets shouting, "Freedom for Rome!" expecting applause. They got silence, then chaos. Julius Caesar's supporters gathered his body and carried it to the Forum. Mark Antony gave a funeral speech so powerful it shook the city. He lifted Julius Caesar's blood-soaked toga for everyone to see. The crowd snapped. They burned the Senate building, hunted down the conspirators, and demanded revenge. A few nights later, a comet appeared in the sky, blazing for 7 days. Romans believed it was Julius Caesar's soul rising to heaven. To calm the people, the Senate declared him Divus Julius, Julius Caesar the Divine. Ironically, by killing Julius Caesar to stop a king, the senators had created an emperor instead. Julius Caesar's adopted son, Octavian, would later become Augustus, the first emperor of Rome. The Republic was gone forever. Strip away the statues, and Julius Caesar was deeply human. Charismatic, witty, insecure, and proud. He was vain enough to hide his baldness under laurel wreaths and perfume himself daily, yet disciplined enough to march with his soldiers and share their food. Julius Caesar had lovers across the empire, queens like Cleopatra and many senators' wives, which made him both adored and despised. He once joked that every woman in Rome was his, and every man was jealous of him. He was also a genius of organization. Julius Caesar could read reports, dictate orders, and write letters simultaneously. He could march 40 kilometers in a day and still plan a campaign at night. Even his enemies respected his brilliance. But Julius Caesar's greatest strength, his confidence, was also his undoing. He believed he could charm anyone, forgive anyone, control anyone. That belief cost him everything. Julius Caesar changed history more than almost any single human being. He gave Rome its empire, its calendar, and even its future rulers' titles. The word Caesar became Kaiser in German and Tsar in Russian. He rewrote the story of leadership itself, blending genius and ego, reform and ruthlessness. And yet, Julius Caesar's death proved a timeless truth. You can conquer the world, but you can't conquer the human heart. For all his power, Julius Caesar could not command loyalty from those closest to him. His story is the blueprint for every rise and fall that followed. Emperors, kings, presidents, and revolutionaries. It's a reminder that ambition always comes with a price, and sometimes that price is your life. If you thought Julius Caesar's story was wild, wait until you hear what happened to Cleopatra after his death. Click the next video before the empire falls apart again.